if she's too sweet to be dangerous. You're the exact kind of guy this works on, because good men don't suspect the gentle ones until it's expensive. She walked into the coffee shop like she belonged in a scene designed to make you believe in fate hair a little undone, eyes bright with that soft, searching look, a laugh that sounded warm but never fully landed. You bought her a latte. She thanked you in a way that made you feel chosen, like the noise of the whole city had narrowed down to just the two of you. 3 weeks later, she was over all the time. Soon it was easier if she just stayed. Then staying turned into living together. Then living together turned into you answering to her mood before you answered to your own calendar. 6 months after that, you realized you hadn't called your sister back in a while. Not because you didn't love your sister, because every time you tried, there was a price. She'd get quiet, she'd go distant, or she'd tear up and say she hated conflict, that your family didn't understand her, that she felt unsafe around people who asked normal questions. And you, being the kind of man who tries to protect peace, tried to protect her. You didn't notice how your friends faded. Not all at once, just one canceled plan at a time. One I can't. She's having a rough day after another. You didn't notice how your paycheck slowly turned into her spreadsheet, how every purchase became a conversation, how every disagreement ended with her soft voice saying, "I'm just trying to help," like your resistance was proof you didn't appreciate her. What you mistook for tenderness was a slow unthreading, and you didn't see it coming, not because you were weak, not because you were naive, but because she made vulnerability look like innocence. She made control look like care. She made the trap feel like home. And that's the part men need to hear without shame. A lot of the most damaging relationship dynamics don't begin with cruelty. They begin with a performance that looks like the very thing you're proud to provide: stability, protection, reassurance, patience. The setup is simple. She looks delicate. Life looks hard on her. You look like the answer. Then the rules change. There's a quiet epidemic happening in living rooms, in long drives home, in late-night texts that start with "Can we talk?" and end with you apologizing for something you didn't do. Not an epidemic of one gender being evil, not a campaign against women. Anyone can manipulate, anyone can abuse, and men can be harmed in relationships in ways that rarely get named out loud. The pattern we're talking about is specific, a calculated fragile victim persona used to gain influence, dodge accountability, and slowly dominate the emotional climate of the relationship. It isn't loud. It doesn't always come with slammed doors or screaming matches. It arrives quietly through withheld warmth, curated tears, strategic confusion, and the repeated use of "I didn't mean to" as a shield. And it thrives because it mirrors what most decent men have been trained to respect: sensitivity, softness, innocence, vulnerability. But here's the truth. Vulnerability is real when it leads to honesty and growth. It's manipulation when it's used as leverage. So let's talk about what this looks like in real life cleanly, clearly, without theatrics, so you can recognize it early. And so if you're already in it, you can start finding your way back to yourself. The first move, small invasions that teach you your boundaries don't matter. It starts innocently. She asks to see your phone just to check the time. Then it becomes, "Can I see that?" when a notification pops up. Then it's, "Who is that?" about a coworker. Then it's your location being shared for safety. Then it's your messages being scanned for tone. Then it's your search history being judged like a character report. Each step is framed as an accident, a misunderstanding, a moment of insecurity. "I just worry about you," she says. "I've been hurt before," she says. "My anxiety gets bad when I don't know where you are," she says, voice trembling in a way that makes you feel like the fix is simple. Just give her what she wants, and she'll feel better. So you give. And because you're not trying to be a jerk, because you don't want to be that guy who makes a woman feel unsafe because you're thinking like a protector, you start to mistake privacy for selfishness. But privacy is not betrayal. Privacy is normal. It's the line between "we're close" and "I own you." And the goal of those early boundary pushes isn't information. It's conditioning. It's training you to associate boundaries with guilt. Watch for this. When you express a limit, does she respect it or does she act wounded by it? Healthy people hear, "I need some privacy," and respond, "Okay, I get it." Manipulative people hear it and respond, "Wow, so you don't trust me?" They don't discuss the boundary. They put your character on trial. The issue stops being her behavior and becomes your coldness, your defensiveness, your secrecy. And if you're a decent man, you'll try to prove you're not those things. That's how the wall comes down brick by brick. The second move, tears that end every argument before it reaches accountability. Every disagreement ends with her crying. Not loud sobbing that looks obviously dramatic. Often it's the quiet kind. Watery eyes, shaking breath, a whisper like, "I wish I could just be happy." And you, being human, do what most people do when someone cries. You soften, you lower your voice, you step back from your point, you try to repair. But pay attention to the pattern. Does she ever take responsibility, or does she only collapse? Some people escalate. Others dissolve. In dissolution, they can be its own weapon. If every time you bring up a valid concern, money, disrespect, broken promises, a hurtful comment, she falls apart in a way that makes your concern disappear, you're not having a conversation. You're being rerouted. It becomes emotional judo. Your momentum is used against you. You came in with a specific issue. You leave feeling like a monster for mentioning it. And here's the cultural trap men fall into. You're taught that your firmness is dangerous, that your frustration is scary, that if a woman is hurt, you must have done something wrong, so you swallow the truth to avoid looking harsh. You back down to keep the peace. You learn that clarity costs you closeness. Over time, you stop bringing things up, not because things are fine, because it's not worth the emotional fallout. You start living around her feelings like they're whether you can't predict and can't challenge. That isn't empathy. That's submission disguised as kindness. The third move, isolation that feels like loyalty. She doesn't have to demand you stop seeing your friends. If she's smart about it, she'll make it feel like your idea. Your boys invite you out. She's not feeling well. Your sister calls. She doesn't like conflict. Your mom asks questions. She feels judged. Your friend jokes with you. She says he doesn't respect her. Nothing is explicit. It's always framed as concern, discomfort, sensitivity, and the pressure isn't direct. It's emotional. If you go, she'll be sad. If you stay, she'll be warm again. So you stay. And slowly, the relationships that used to keep you grounded start to weaken. People stop inviting you because you always cancel. Your family stops pushing because every interaction becomes complicated. Your world shrinks until the relationship becomes your entire atmosphere. That's when control becomes easy, because there's no outside mirror left to reflect what's happening. A strong relationship doesn't require you to abandon everyone else. It makes you more connected to life, not less. It doesn't punish you for having a support system. It respects that you're a full person, not an accessory. Isolation isn't always forced. Sometimes it's engineered. The fourth move, inconsistency, that keeps you chasing. One day she's affectionate, sweet, present your best friend, your biggest fan. The next she's cold, detached, unreachable. She disappears for hours or days, then returns with softness and a story. Stress, anxiety, overwhelm. I needed space. And if you question it, you're controlling. If you don't question it, you're left confused. That confusion is not accidental. Inconsistent affection is one of the strongest ways to bond someone to you. It makes you work harder for the good version. It makes you blame yourself for the bad version. It turns love into a slot machine. You keep pulling the lever because sometimes it pays out. You start monitoring your tone. You start replaying conversations in your head. You start adjusting your behavior to prevent the cold spell. You call it maturity. You call it patience. You call it love. But if affection is used as a reward for compliance and withdrawn as a punishment for independence, it isn't love. It's conditioning. Real intimacy is steady. It isn't perfect, but it's consistent in its care. It doesn't teach you to fear your partner's mood. The fifth move, a hidden life and a controlled narrative. She never introduces you to her friends. Says they're not really her type. Her family is complicated. Everything is vague. There are no real connections you can see, no long-standing relationships you can verify, no one who checks in, no one you can casually talk to who would say, "Oh yeah, that's just how she is." Now, sometimes people genuinely have messy family situations. Sometimes they're private. Sometimes they're rebuilding their social life. That alone isn't proof of anything. What matters is whether the secrecy functions like insulation. If you can't meet anyone, you can't compare notes. You can't reality check. You can't hear. She did this in her last relationship too. Or that's not what happened. Or she's telling you the same story she tells everyone. When someone keeps their world hidden, they control the story. And if they control the story, They control you because you're operating on information they curate. Truth can handle sunlight. Manipulation prefers fog. The sixth move, financial and logistical entanglement that erases your autonomy. Then there's money. And this is where a lot of men don't realize they're being controlled until it's expensive. It begins like partnership, budgeting together, saving for the future. Let's be smart. It feels mature. It feels responsible. It feels like building. Then it becomes oversight. Why did you buy that? Why are you spending on that? Why do you need that? Then it becomes permission. You hesitate before buying a coffee because you can already hear the criticism. Then it becomes entanglement. Shared accounts, shared leases, shared debts. Your name on things you didn't choose. Your resources used for priorities you didn't agree to. And it's all framed as love. We're a team. I'm thinking long term. I'm doing this for us. If you really cared about our future, you'd understand. There may be no yelling, no dramatic theft, just a steady pattern of your autonomy being treated as negotiable while her wants remain urgent. A relationship should make you stronger, not financially blind. Partnership means two adults making decisions with mutual consent, not one adult managing another like an asset. The system, not the snapshots. Here's the key. Any one of these behaviors can happen in a normal relationship in a mild form. People get insecure, people cry, people have bad days, people make mistakes. What makes this dangerous is the system, the way these behaviors link together to create a one-way dynamic. Your boundaries trigger guilt. Your concerns trigger tears. Your independence triggers withdrawal. Your support system triggers conflict. Your money triggers entitlement. Your reality triggers confusion. And when you step back, you realize the relationship isn't built on mutual respect. It's built on you adapting and her benefiting. You start living like a diplomat in your own home, choosing words carefully, avoiding topics, negotiating basic freedom. Your life gets quieter, narrower, smaller, not because you want less, but because it costs less conflict. You think you're keeping peace. But peace isn't the absence of arguments. Peace is the presence of choice. Why, good men miss it. Men miss this not because they're stupid, but because they're trained to interpret certain signals in a certain way. If she looks fragile, you want to protect. If she cries, you want to comfort. If she says she's been hurt, you want to prove you're different. If she calls you a safe place, you want to live up to the title. And if you grew up believing a real man absorbs discomfort quietly, you may think enduring emotional chaos is part of love. You may think it's noble to keep trying, to keep forgiving, to keep caring more than your share. But maturity isn't unlimited tolerance. Maturity is discernment. Love is not measured by how much you can survive. Love is measured by how much you can be yourself without punishment. The internal signs you're in it. Sometimes the clearest evidence isn't what she does, it's what you become. Ask yourself, do you feel relieved when she's in a good mood? Like you narrowly avoided something? Do you rehearse conversations before you have them? Do you hide harmless things, plans, purchases, messages because it's easier than the reaction? Do you apologize a lot even when you're not sure what you did? Have you stopped doing things that used to make you feel like you? Do you feel more anxious in the relationship than you felt alone? If your relationship requires you to shrink to keep it stable, it isn't stable. It's managed. What to do without turning your life into a war? If you recognize this pattern, you don't have to explode your life today. You don't have to win a confrontation. You don't have to diagnose anyone. You don't need a villain speech. You need a plan that brings you back to reality and back to choice. 1. Name behaviors, not identities. Don't argue about whether she's a bad person. Focus on specifics. Reading your messages, tracking your location, punishing you with silence, guilt-tripping you for seeing family, controlling spending without agreement. 2. Set one clear boundary and watch what happens. A healthy partner may be unhappy, but they will respect the line. A controlling partner will attack the line itself, mock it, guilt it, test it, punish it. Example: I'm not sharing passwords. Healthy response: okay, I get it. Unhealthy response: so you're hiding something? Wow. 3. Rebuild your support system quietly and consistently. Call your sister back. See your friend. Re-enter your life. Not as a rebellion, as a restoration. If your relationship collapses when you reconnect with people who love you, that tells you something. 4. Document reality for yourself. Not to prosecute, to stay sane. Write down what happened after a conflict, what you said, what she said, what changed. Manipulation thrives on memory fog. 5. Get outside perspective from a professional if you can. A good counselor can help you sort normal conflict from a coercive control and help you practice boundaries without escalating danger. 6. Protect your finances and logistics. If things are already entangled, start learning what's in your name, what accounts exist, what debts you're tied to, and what you'd need to separate safely. You don't have to make dramatic moves in one day. You do have to stop being blind. 7. Stop bargaining with someone who benefits from your confusion. If every serious conversation ends with you comforting her and forgetting your original point, that's not communication, that's containment. The hardest truth, said cleanly. A lot of men stay because they keep focusing on the good moments, the sweet version, the real her, the soft voice at night, the apologies, the intimacy that feels like a reward. But you can't build a life on intermittent tenderness. You can't build trust on inconsistency. You can't build peace on eggshells. You're not cruel for wanting clarity. You're not selfish for wanting space. You're not weak for being affected by emotional control. And you're not obligated to sacrifice your identity to prove you can love someone. If you feel like you're walking on glass in a place that's supposed to feel like home, that feeling matters. It's information. It's your nervous system telling the truth your mind keeps trying to soften. Recognition is the first act of freedom, not confrontation, not revenge, not a dramatic exit. Just the moment you stop calling a cage love because the bars are padded. The right relationship won't require you to disappear so someone else can feel powerful. It won't turn your boundaries into crimes. It won't make you earn basic respect. It will feel steady. It will feel clean. It will feel like you can breathe. And if you've forgotten what that feels like, this is your reminder. You're allowed to choose it again.